Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight I am very honored to be bringing you THEOSOPHIA, Esoteric Studies, tonight hosted by Lynne Miceli of the Edgar Cayce Center here in New York City.
Thank you, Hercules, and hello, everybody. My guest tonight is Cynthia Fellows. She's an intuitive animal communicator, or the technical term used is interspecies telepathic communicator. Cynthia trained in animal communication with Penelope Smith, one of the pioneers of the field, and has had a private practice since 1997. Her specialties include behavioral and emotional problems of pets and contact with pets who have passed away. She works from photographs of the animals and has clients from all around the United States. She's been featured as an animal communicator in Newsday and the New York Daily News, among other publications, and has been a guest on a variety of TV and radio shows in the US, the UK, and beyond. She has taught courses in animal communication, and she is now a practitioner for the ARE of New York at your Cayce Center. ARE, by the way, stands for Association for Research and Enlightenment. Cynthia is also a psychic medium who does readings for people as well, helping them connect with loved ones on the other side. And being a lifelong learner, she's recently been certified as a law of attraction mindset coach and facilitator. But tonight we're going to focus mostly on animal communication. So welcome, Cynthia.
Hi, thank you. So happy to be here.
I know we're both excited about talking about this.
Yes.
So what made you decide to want to become an animal communicator?
Well, the way I even found out that the career existed, I moved to New York to become an actress, and I still am an actress, but I one day just turned on the TV and there was a documentary called I Talk to Animals by Samantha Curry. And I had never heard of such a thing. And I watched this woman that is the most amazing documentary if you can ever get your hands on it. She literally had a little parrot, or maybe it was probably a parakeet, and she was doing her exercises, and the parakeet was doing the exact same exercises with her. And I just saw like amazing communication between her and all of her pets. She had horses, she had cats, dogs, and I cried through the whole documentary saying, "You've got to be kidding me." Because I've been psychic my whole life. I'm a huge animal lover. And I said, if I ever decide to take a break from acting, I have to learn how to do this. Now, that was probably a good 10 years before I ever did start training. But that's how I first became aware of it. And I was determined I'm going to do that one day.
So that planted the seed. And what was your first psychic experience like? The first psychic experience with people?
With people, I know exactly, and with animals, I know exactly. So I was living in Maryland. I was probably 12 years old in the suburbs. And I went to babysit in the house on the other side of the woods because it was a new development. So there were lots of woods. The father there had passed away. He was a test pilot and the plane had crashed. I went to babysit. I went up the stairs and the girl who was a teenager my age said, "You can read all the magazines you want. They're in my bottom drawer of my bedroom." So I was sitting there on the floor going through all the magazines, so excited. And I hear footsteps coming up the steps. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. I knew it was the dad, the spirit of the dad coming up the stairs. There were two little boys in the bedroom next door. I went running in there and they were both on the bed hugging each other. And I got on the bed and I was hugging them and I'm calming them down. They go, "We hear Daddy all the time." So that was my first time hearing a spirit coming up the stairs. It was very scary, even to this moment.
I wonder about that sometimes, about how our loved ones sometimes are scary when we're not expecting to see them after in the afterlife.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And then
So I see how that would be scary.
yes. And then my first experience with animals. You want to hear that?
Sure.
So I became obsessed with Edgar Cayce at a very young age, and I was maybe 16. I think I started reading everything by Edgar Cayce, Jean Dixon, and Ruth.
Montgomery.
Yes, I was like obsessed. And I seemed to have had this psychic ability that was just waiting to pop out, because all I had to do was read a couple of books and it was like very big, very fast, and very frightening. And at the time I was living in Boston, I was about to start college. I was in between high school and college. And oh no, you know what happened? And I'm sorry. My first experience was we were living in Florida and we couldn't find our cat. We had a cat. We hadn't seen the cat for several days. And then one day we're all walking around the neighborhood and around our house. And there was a little toy house in the backyard. And as we're getting to it, I go, oh my God, I forgot the cat's name, is under the toy house. He's been hit by a car.
Oh,
He's not dead, but that's where he had been for 4 days. We found him. We nursed him back to life. He was okay. But
good.
I psychically felt him under the toy house, and we finally, that's how my first experience connecting with an animal psychically. And then the second and third time was in Boston, the house where I'm telling you, I started reading all the Edgar Cayce books. And this is going to sound crazy, Lynn, when I tell you this story, but I went to take a shower and there was a fly in the shower. Now I'm like, Mr. Fly, if I turn on the shower, you're going to drown. Come on my finger. I'll put you on the wall. I'll put a robe on and I'll take you outside. I put my hand out, the fly gets on my finger. I get out of the shower, go like this. He goes on the wall. I put on a robe, put my finger on, take him outside. It blew my mind too, but I connected with that fly. Shortly thereafter, I was crying on my bed, and that same cat that we had found under the toy house, I had found, came running on the bed to cuddle with me because I was upset about some teenage thing, crying, cuddled with me. And as I let him out of my room, I said, I know I'm never going to see you again, and I love you very much. And we never did see that cat again.
Oh,
So those were my first experiences, 2 with the cat and 1 with the fly.
fly, that's pretty amazing.
The fly is, you can't tell too many people that, but now that everyone's going to hear it, you can judge me. You can judge me. It's okay.
I certainly won't judge you. It would be useful for me to be able to talk to water bugs. I live in the South, you know.
Yes.
Never mind. But anyway, if I could just tell them, I don't want to have anything against you, but just stay out of my house.
Yeah, you could do it.
I'll try. I actually have tried that before. I'll try it again.
Yeah, Penelope Smith taught us, those of you in New York City who have cockroaches, just talk to them and make them go away. And I remember at the time I was able to do that. But of course, I was freshly out of school. You could do it more when you're just bombarded with Penelope Smith's psychic energy, you know.
Seems like a very useful skill. So tell us more about that, about your training with Penelope Smith.
Yeah, so I went to beginner training at the Omega Institute in upstate New York. And it was on a horse ranch, which is amazing because I was deathly afraid of horses. Growing up, my sisters would go horseback riding, and I tried it a couple of times and I was terrified. But I also knew I had such a love for horses. I didn't understand the discrepancy between how much I loved them and how afraid I was of them. And then the beginner training was at a horse ranch. That's what we worked with, horses. It was like, yay, this is exciting. And I remember I have a photo on my website of me and a horse, and we're just smiling, both smiling like this, because that was the moment all my fear of horses went away. And the horse and I have our faces right next to each other. It is the breakthrough moment for me. But I later discovered through many people, including Kev O'Kane from our wonderful ARE, that I had many past lives on horses where I died or had a horrible accident. And Kev had told me I was a beautiful blonde who did I was very wealthy, but for my hobby, I jumped. I was a horse jumper at many fairs, and one day the horse stopped and I went psh, and I was paralyzed, and then I died. He told me that, not knowing that I already knew that I died because of horses. And I have many lifetimes, cowgirl and Indian, where I fell off a cliff on a horse. Or so I did get to work with a horse once, and I would love more horse clients. You know, I do this through Zoom and the phone, but I also do it face to face with animals. That's beautiful when you can be with the animal. And one time a veterinarian in Pennsylvania contacted me and asked me to come to Pennsylvania and teach her vet assistance, animal communication, just for an afternoon of fun, just like a little lark kind of thing. And the only animal accessible was a horse.
Yeah.
And the horse would not go in its carrier. It refused. It just freaked out anytime it tried to go into, what is it called? The horse
Trailer?
Yeah, thanks. And so I just closed my eyes and asked the horse, what is the matter, honey? Why won't you go in? And the way I get the information, Lynn, some people only get it one of the 5 ways. I get it all 5 ways. I see flashes of pictures. I hear it in my head. I instinctively know it. I feel it physically. And what's the other one? Well, anyway, maybe there's only 4.
Well,
I get it every way: seeing, hearing, feeling, and just instincts. And so I connect with the horse, and he says to me, anytime he's tried to go, that he's been beaten badly by humans. When he turns his back to them, he gets beaten badly. I'm like, oh my God. Well, I said to the owner, who was a lovely girl, she started to cry when I said this to her. He's saying that he's been beaten. She goes, it wasn't me. It was the person that had him before me. And then somebody who was a worker, and they beat him badly when he was going into the trailer. So I said to him, if you will go in the trailer, I promise you, it'll never happen ever to you. He went right in immediately. So that's the kind of connection. If I could work with more horses face to face, I've thought of volunteering my time, like trying to go to a horse sanctuary or something, but any horse sanctuaries want me to come and volunteer my time? I love them now, but I'm afraid to get on them. I can only be on the ground. Still can't get up on them.
Maybe some horse sanctuaries will be in touch with you now.
Yes.
And very briefly, we're talking mostly about your experiences as an animal communicator, but what about your training as a psychic medium? How did that come about, working with people?
Well, you know what? As I was telling you, I was reading Edgar Cayce and all those books, and my psychic ability kind of exploded, and I was a teenager. And it was very frightening for my family and I. I mean, I'm not going to go into enormous detail because it's kind of personal, but really scary things were happening on a daily basis, including the fact we were living in a haunted house in Boston where people had been waked. And I, one day, was coming down the stairs, and I was a senior in high school. I was coming down the stairs and I heard the whole wake and the music and everything going on. My best friend and I would use the Ouija board to ask about boys and stuff, and things, just a lot of scary things happened. So my ability just kind of exploded. So I thought to myself, I'll never, ever do this with people. I'm afraid. I'm really afraid of my power. I'm afraid of my ability. And that's why I turned to animals first. And I didn't think I ever would. Anytime I thought of learning how to work with people, it was too terrifying. Even to this day, I have some fear of it, but animals, no fear, So there's a place called, I thought of going to Lynn Hunter, and I think I did take the intro class, but something with the timing, because you had to commit to a certain amount of months, and it depended on finances at the time, the timing of the class. I went to the Holistic Studies Institute, Stephen Robinson. He recently passed away.
Yes, I've heard about that.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, why he passed away, but I was the last graduating class a week before the lockdown. We didn't know about the pandemic. So I got certified a week before the lockdown. It was like 9 months, 1 weekend a month for 9 months or something like that. Maybe 2 weekends a month. So that's how I learned. I went there and I trained with him and learned how to do it. But when you're a psychic medium, it doesn't mean that you're just connecting with people who passed away. I know that confused me too, because at one point when I used to write for you for the ARE newsletter, I volunteered as a writer and I would interview some of the people that they would explain to me, no, it doesn't mean that you're just a medium with people who passed away. It means that you're intuitive with people. So I can pick up much more than just people who passed away. But the way I was taught to do mediumship, if someone wants to contact someone who passed away, you just kind of sit in a quiet space and invite anyone in who wants to say something. You don't know if somebody will show up. But I also recently discovered if someone sends me a picture of someone who passed away, I can often contact them specifically, as opposed to you don't know who's going to show up. I use photos, like even with animals, when I communicate with animals and I use photos, I probably don't need it. I was not, when I trained with Penelope or Stephen, they never said you need a photo. This is my way of doing it. You have to kind of find your own tools. It just centers me because I usually sit with it before the client calls me. It's my way of just sitting with it, and I sit quietly and I get flooded with information. It's a focal point, like somebody maybe would hold something in their hand. I look at the animal. It's not to analyze the picture. It's just like, I'm with you now, let's connect, that kind of thing. But okay, so the psychic, we learned many things. We learned how to bring in people who have passed away. One of my favorite things is psychometry, though, and I'm very good at that. And what that is in person, the other person would make you hold an item of theirs, and you would tell them what you picked up. Now, the way I do it on Zoom is the person has it in their hand, or if it's on the phone, they send me the photo of the item. I can just pick up information. But I'm also, even without these tools, I'm just very intuitive about people, so I can often just know things. I just know it, kind of.
And you've already talked about this a little bit, but when you're communicating with animals, what is that experience like for you? You already talked a little bit about the different
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, I have the photo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes now with the ARE picnic and the fair, we do it on Zoom. So that was my first time doing it on Zoom. You have the animal there with you too, but the people send me the photo ahead of time so I can get information before they get on the Zoom. I just kind of ask the questions. Usually it's very good to have specific questions rather than vagueness. If the person supplies me with questions, they're going to be happier with the session. Also, if the person is open-minded, I find if you're working with someone who's kind of laughing at you or skeptical, it's not going to go so well because there's like an energy, you need the energy exchange. So I sit there with the photo and I just go, honey, talk to me. Your mom or dad's worried about you. They're asking, and I can feel like sensations in my body of pain and I'm not a medical intuitive. I've never taken a medical intuition class, but I often can just feel it. And I'll say, just get this checked out. And I'm not 100%, because none of this is 100% for anyone, but no psychic will say they are 100%. Even when I was in class, people, including my teachers, messed up all the time because it's not an exact science. So you have to be compassionate with the psychic too and be open-minded there. But I hear it in my head. I just kind of like hear what they're thinking. I see flashes of pictures like I'm daydreaming. And then I just kind of know they're saying this, they're feeling this.
You hear words?
Yeah, just like my own thoughts, like the way I would hear my own thoughts. They're not out loud talking to me, I don't
Yes,
hear
I
voices in
understand.
the room.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, animals don't use words, but their thoughts translate into words for you when you're
Yeah, it's
into them.
intuitive. Yeah, it's psychic. It's like,
And what kinds of issues do people usually want to communicate about with their animals?
okay, well, this week I have clients that have been using me since 1997. They're still coming to me. And one came to me this week. I actually hadn't had a session with her since last November, and she had 3 cats and one passed away. So she had 4, she has 3. And she just wanted to know how they were feeling about the trauma of losing one of the cats. And she sent me pictures of all of them. And one of them was going to the bathroom outside the litter box, and there were some jealousy issues. So lots of times it can be behavioral, like why is it peeing or pooping outside the litter box? Why are they fighting? What can I do to make them happier? Sometimes people just want to know, what can I do to make them happier? Lots of times the animals will say, I don't know where this toy is, and they'll describe the toy to me, and the owner will go, oh my God, yeah, they did used to have that toy. Like I had a client the other day and I said, do you have a mouse in your house? And they said, no. I said, oh, wait a minute. No, it's not real. It's a toy. Is it gray with a red tail or something red dangling on it? They go, oh yeah, I tied a red string to it. That specific, the cat's looking for it. You stuck it in a cabinet somewhere and you forgot to give it to them, that kind of stuff.
And do you find that the animals usually want to talk to you, or
They
do some
can't wait. Yes, they can't wait to talk to me. I was like looking over some of my material today, and one of the funny in some of the articles to refresh my memory, because I've been doing this since 97. And I once was hired to do like this big forum where there were like hundreds of people, and I'm at a table and I'm quickly getting asked questions about all these animals. And this one woman said that her dog wouldn't go on walks with her anymore. And I say to the dog, what's going on? Well, my girlfriend, the cat, isn't allowed on the walks. So I said to the woman, well, his girlfriend, the cat, isn't allowed on the walks. She goes, oh God, that cat. It was true. So sometimes the animals just want, can you please tell my mommy or daddy, I want my girlfriend to come on the walks, or, they can't wait to talk to you.
Are there ever some that are reluctant, or do they pretty much always want to talk?
I would say 90% of the time, the animal talks to me. It's very rare that they don't, maybe 95%. I can't even think of a time when an animal won't, actually.
It's kind of like they're relieved to have somebody that can talk to them and
Yes,
hear
but
what
it's
they're
hard.
saying.
I'm sorry.
Well, who can understand what they're trying to communicate.
Yes, they're so happy. Sometimes they're just thrilled. And now ask me if I can communicate with my own cats. Not as easily. Animal communicators have a hard time communicating. I can communicate, but maybe not as well, because you can't have emotions at all. In fact, when we were training, so I started out the beginner training at the Omega, and then I went to California for the advanced training. I went to Point Reyes, California, near San Francisco. You had asked me this before, and I was going to tell you, tie it into something that you're asking me now. In Point Reyes, California, we took the training at Penelope Smith's house. She had all kinds of animals that we work with: dogs, cats, llamas, chickens. And that's where we did the advanced training. But one part of the training was we had to sit in front of each other and tell each other horrible animal stories.
Oh.
No, because we had to get to the point where we were numb. And we had to be laughing. Like that, you can do what you want, but you're not going to affect me. We had to be numb because you can't have emotions. With my own animals, I'm so emotional. It blocks the channel. If I'm hearing a sad story about someone's pet and they're really worried, if I'm really worried, that just blocks it. I have to be like peaceful,
That makes sense.
Yeah,
You have to be like the arbiter, the go-between, and
right. I can't be emotional.
a clear channel kind of for what's going on.
Right. And that's why some animal communicators, I remember when I was starting out and this girl was mentoring me, she had to take a long break. I've had to take a long break because I was at the point where I was walking down the street and I could hear animals just very unhappy telling me things, and nobody asked me, or I'd give my opinion and it wouldn't be asked, not appreciated by people on the sidewalk. They're not even hiring me, but I can hear you know. And I actually did take a break, for a while, because it was too much. I was being flooded with too much information. I just needed to go, okay. Yes, it's hard sometimes.
Let's talk a little bit more about some of your more interesting clients or cases without, of course, using actual names.
Yes.
You referred to a couple of sessions of animal communication that you did at one of the ARE of New York psychic fairs. And
Oh,
at
yeah.
that point, you hadn't been doing readings on deceased pets for a while. And what happened at the fair changed that. You want to talk about that?
Yes. I often volunteer to do your picnics and fairs, and always with living animals, not deceased. Because many, many years ago, the only time I have ever returned money to a client was a deceased pet, because the owner got very upset and said it wasn't her pet. So I don't want to torment or hurt anybody. I gave them back their money, and I said to myself, maybe I'm not good at talking to the deceased pets. I'm not doing it anymore. So I said to Lynne, only living pets. But some of the people sent pictures to Lynne to send to me of deceased pets, 2 people. So in one case, Lynne said to them, only living pets. And they said, that's okay. We sent a living pet too to Cynthia, but the other one canceled because her cat had passed away. So I'm on the session with the one that had sent the living and the deceased, and I'm finished with the living one. I don't even remember the details of that. We had time left over. I said, would you like me? I know you wanted a session with your pet who died, your dog. Would you like me to see if, can't hurt, right? Let me see. I haven't done this in a long time, but if you want me to try, okay. So I sat with the dog, and it was instant. It was almost easier. I got so much information, like, this dog is your soulmate and you and this dog are so connected. And she started to cry. She goes, that is really true. And then I'm sitting there and the dog is telling me, I am terrified of candles. I am so afraid of candles. And that gives me chills down my head. He said, I'm terrified. And so I said, so I'm sitting quietly, and he's just going, I hate candles. I'm afraid of fires. I'm afraid of candles. So I go back to her. I mean, she was just sitting there quietly too. I said, your dog is terrified, absolutely terrified of candles. She goes, no, I am. And that's why he is. She goes, I will not have a single candle in my house. I can't remember, Lynne, if she had a small fire. I don't think she was ever in a big fire, but something had happened and she won't allow candles in her home. And she said her dog knew that. So that's when I felt confident. And I went back, when I finished my session with her, I went back in the waiting room of the ARE where you kind of hang out until you go into another session. I said, Lynne, if anyone wants a deceased animal, I am good at it. And just at that moment, the husband of the woman who had canceled her session was signing into the lobby, the holding area, and goes, oh my God, my wife wanted a session with a deceased, with our animal who passed away. I'm going to have her book you right now. I said, I'm free right now. So they booked me right then, and they came in. I don't know if he was there. No, she came in. And she said to me, when I first booked the session, oh, wait a minute. No, she didn't say this at first. So I said, okay, I'm going to talk to your animal who passed away. And I'm sitting there and I go, oh my God, it was an accident, wasn't it? And she goes, yes. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. She goes, yes, when I first booked the session, my cat wasn't dead. I was booking for a living cat. But a week later, my cat died. And you're right, it was an accident. I said, oh my God. She goes, and I don't even know what happened. I said, okay, let me see what I can get. And I close my eyes and I hear the cat. I went to visit my boyfriend cat who lived 2 blocks away, and a dog was chasing me, and I got caught on the fence and injured on the fence. And I told her, and she goes, yeah, I'm pretty sure that is what happened. And he did have a boyfriend cat that lived 2 blocks away. And we do think a dog chased it into the fence. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
But it brought her such comfort.
She was very emotional. I remember when she came out of that session, she was in tears.
Yes.
In Zoom, by the way, we were when Cynthia talks about a waiting room, it's like a Zoom room, and there are breakout rooms where people go to have their separate sessions, and then they come back to the main room. So when she came back to the main room after her session with you, she was so emotional and so grateful, because you had apparently given her some closure, I think.
Well, yes, but not only closure, she was feeling so guilty that she let her cat out, because I think she lived in Brooklyn or the Bronx, not normally where your cat's running loose. And she was feeling so guilty. See, I think they had moved there from the suburbs or something, that she was letting her cat outside. But the cat said, no, I would rather have been an outdoor cat and died early than been stuck indoors. And that brought her such comfort that she didn't have to feel bad about letting her cat out. But that was major. That was like breakthrough for me too. So now I can help people with healing from grieving.
That explains why she was so teary when she came out, that you had relieved these feelings of guilt that she had.
Yes.
Yeah, it was obviously a very powerful session for her. So this is a testimonial that we have on our website that someone wrote for you, and you said that there was some follow-up for this. So I'm going to read the testimonial, and then you tell me what the follow-up is.
Okay.
The title of the testimonial was Becoming a Family. Our family adopted brother and sister kittens who we named Megabyte and Analog. Megabyte, from the beginning, had enormous confidence and was extremely loving and social. Analog, on the other hand, was completely feral and would not let us touch or hold her. A friend recommended that we reach out to Cynthia for help. When Cynthia walked into our living room, Analog immediately came out of hiding, sat up at attention, and looked at her. This in itself was phenomenal, because Analog had always hidden from people. Cynthia asked to be alone with her for a while. When she was done, she told us that Analog did not understand what she was doing at our apartment, that she did not know it was home, and that she thought we were going to hurt her. She also told us that Analog did not like her name, it was not feminine enough, wanted to be told that she was a pretty kitty, and that she wanted a soft cat bed. We changed her name to Annie and got her a cat bed that we put next to our couch. She immediately made the cat bed her own. Somehow Megabyte understood it was hers and never sat in it. While she was in the cat bed, she felt safe, and we slowly acclimated her to being petted. Eventually, she came up on the couch with us and is now the most affectionate, loving, and sometimes even demanding cat that I have ever known. Her purrs are so loud and powerful that it's impossible not to feel how deep the love and bonding is between us. The meeting with Cynthia was the turning point. I have no idea how we could have developed the relationship that we now have with our lovely Annie if it had not been for her. So you said that there was some follow-up to that session, something.
Yes. This is very strange, but I was on a Zoom call, and they put you into breakout rooms. It's about different careers and stuff. And I got this person that, I'm not going to say his name, but the person that wrote the testimonial in this breakout room. We were the only 2 people put in there together. I'm like, oh my God, how are you? And he's on the couch and I see this beautiful cat come up and like hugging him and everything. I go, oh, what a beautiful cat. Oh, how beautiful. He goes, this is Annie. I got to see Annie.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like, did that just really happen? Because I never get to see the before and after unless the person hires me again. And lots of times people don't even tell me what happened. I had run into him years later and he said, I have to tell you, you turned our feral cat into a loving cat in one day, and I want to write you a testimonial. And now I run into him in this breakout room and I get to see the cat hugging him, and what a beautiful cat. That's Annie. So what a full circle for me.
So that Zoom session was not anything to do with animal communication or
No,
anything.
it
We happened to
wasn't.
work together.
We have mutual friends, and like sometimes there's like different people in the arts that get together on Zoom, and like they might share their talent or brainstorm or that kind of thing. And in this case, they put us in breakout rooms and it was just the two of us.
That's amazing.
I thought so.
So can we talk about the session with my cat Neville?
Yes,
Mhm.
of course.
Okay, I don't usually tell my own stories, but since it's relevant here, I had a cat, Neville, who was a Himalayan cat, and they are extremely loving and affectionate. They're the most affectionate cats I've ever known.
He's very,
And,
very handsome. Yeah.
And at that point, I had two cats. I had Neville and I had an elderly cat who I still have, Hermione. And Neville, there was something not right with him. He seemed down, and I don't remember the exact timeline here, but I did take him to the vet. They didn't find anything wrong with him, but he seemed down, and I knew that he was playful, and I knew that my elderly cat was not interested in playing with him. And I wasn't really in the mood to play because I had lost my husband about 9 months before, and I was kind of depressed. So I thought, well, let's get a kitten. And I think the kitten was partly for him and partly for me, but I adopted a kitten. And at first, he seemed to be fascinated by her, but the first time he went to get into my lap and she was there, he got very upset, and he basically ended up pretty much hating her. And she was the most rambunctious kitten in the world and wanted to play desperately and was always jumping on him. And he just got more and more unhappy with her. And I knew that something wasn't right with him. And so I asked you for the session. Let's see. So you told me, yeah, so one of the things that had been happening with Neville too was that most nights I would, after dinner, I would be in the living room on a recliner watching TV. And that would be the time when Neville would come, and because we were in a recliner, you're kind of half sitting and half lying down. He would come and lie on my chest, and my other cat, my elderly cat, would lie on my lap. And that was something and they didn't like each other, but it didn't matter because they had a truce when they were on my lap or on my chest. And it was something I looked forward to really all day, that cuddling time. And I know it was something that they both looked forward to, especially because he was such an affectionate cat. And he wouldn't stay. He would be on my chest for a while, and then he would leave for a little while, and then he'd come back and then leave and come back. But he would be there on and off during the whole evening. But then I was noticing, besides the fact that he seemed down, he would come to where I was on the chair and he would look at me, but he wouldn't jump up onto my lap. And I didn't understand what was going on. And I was kind of feeling rejected, like, why doesn't he want to jump up on my lap? And at that point, there was, no other cat. The kitten wasn't on my lap or anything. It was free and clear, but he wasn't jumping up. So I had this session with you.
Mhm.
And you said, among other things, that he was feeling blah. He had no energy. He was feeling like, he was just feeling blah and energyless. And also that he was depressed because he wasn't getting physical attention. I wasn't, giving him physical affection, and he was missing the physical affection, and he wanted to cuddle with me. And after that session, I tried to put those things together. Like, I want to cuddle him, and he comes to the chair, but he doesn't jump up. But he's saying that he feels blah, he feels energyless. Maybe he's too weak to jump up. And so I started picking him up and putting him on my lap. And then he would cuddle, and we would have the usual cuddling. He would get on my chest, and it would be nice. And he would leave and come back again, and I'd have to pick him up and put him on my lap. But we had that cuddling for the next couple of nights, a few nights, and then I noticed that his something was going on with his belly. It was full of fluid. And I took him back to the vet, and the vet said that the things that could cause that, for his belly to be all full of fluid, were either some kind of cancer or congestive heart failure. And they did some tests for cancer, and they didn't find anything. So he was scheduled to have a test to come back in for, I guess it was like an EKG, but he crossed the Rainbow Bridge before we had that test. He died at home in my arms. And I was so grateful that that your session had helped me to understand what was going on with him, because I thought, I didn't understand that the reason he wasn't jumping up onto my lap is that he couldn't jump up onto my lap, because animals typically kind of they don't like to show that they're ill. They try very hard not to show that they're ill. It's kind of like an instinctive thing to him. So I didn't really understand that he was too weak to jump up onto my lap until after we had the session, and you told me how bad he was feeling because he wasn't getting the cuddles and the attention and so on. So that made a huge difference for me, because if we hadn't had that session, he probably would have crossed the Rainbow Bridge without those last few nights of cuddling and being together. And he was also feeling that the kitten, one of the things you told me he said was, the kitten is too cute and Lynn loves him too much, her too much.
Yes.
I did love the kitten, but I loved him too. I loved him very much. And it really broke my heart for him to think that I didn't. So I was just so glad that we had, those nights of cuddling before he made his transition. So that was a really important session for me.
Yes, and just so everyone knows that I'm not heartless here, I found out earlier today what Lynn is saying now on this Zoom meeting. I found out that he passed away, because it looks like I'm not caring that he passed away. I mean, my heart goes out to you for your loss. But I found out earlier because Lynn and I kind of went over what we're just talking about. But also, Lynn, he was very worried about you because of the loss of your husband, that he was worried about your grief. And also, he was saying his paw hurt, and that I was picking up like kidney or urine, like fluid, like in his kidney. Remember that? Because I looked over the notes. So he wasn't feeling great.
Right.
And maybe he couldn't jump up because of his paw too.
Right. Whatever it was, he was not able to jump up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had them look at his paw. They didn't find anything, but you never know. I mean, I have things that hurt that look perfectly fine, but they hurt. So,
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So anyway, it was really important for me that we had that session, and that I was kind of able to make amends with him before he transitioned.
That is beautiful. And I'm so glad that you feel that way about it, and that it was healing for you too, both of you, and had your last few nights.
Yeah.
Like that. So sorry though.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the built-in sort of sadnesses of pets, is that we just live a lot longer than they do, unless you get a tortoise or maybe a parrot. Yeah.
No, thanks.
Dogs and cats, they don't have the same lifespan that we do, but
Yes.
you have also participated in some other interesting events, like you said that you were the animal communicator for Commerce Bank. Now, why do
Yeah, yeah,
why do the
that was
why do they need an animal communicator?
yes, it was amazing. I would go on Craigslist and put in the pets thing, I would advertise my animal communication. And I get contacted by Commerce Bank, which is now TD Bank. I wish Commerce Bank were still around because I was their animal communicator. And they contacted me, like they said, we were going to try to find an animal communicator, and there you were. And they hold something called Carnival of the Dogs, whenever they're trying to get new patrons for their banks. And it's in Westchester, it's in Connecticut, it's in Philadelphia. And I became their person, and it was so much fun. And they would send me to these different events every year, I think 3 a year, pay me a lot of money. And I would go to the carnival, and I'd be dressed up like a gypsy kind of. And it would be this big festivity outside, and people would bring their dog. There'd be bands, there'd be games, and people would line up to get like mini sessions with me. It was free for everyone there. Commerce was paying me. And I did that for several years until they no longer were at Commerce Bank.
So what was that like? Like just one animal after another lined up, like almost like you're Santa Claus or something.
Oh my God. Yes, you have to be quick. And you know, it's funny, but the more you do it, the better you get. So it might sound overwhelming. It's sort of like I told you, I was at this forum where there were hundreds of people, and then I had to do readings. And these people, I think, were paying to get the readings. Not paying me, but paying the place. And the place was paying me. But the one where the dog said, they won't let my girlfriend cat come. Well, I had to do so many readings in those few hours because people were waiting for their reading. So you get better at it because you have to be quick. I've done like other ones too, for Dr. Dolittle. Well, I was on Good Day in New York, and I had to communicate with the monkey from Dr. Dolittle too. I had never even held a monkey before, and they told me later, you were holding it like a dog. Well, I don't know. No one told me how to hold the monkey, and it's live on the air, and you better get something that's right, or you're going to look like crazy. And the only thing the monkey said to me was his favorite food was cucumbers, and thank God that was true. That was the monkey's favorite food. So, okay. I mean, because the cameras are on you, you're on Good Day New York, you know. But I've done a lot of these kind of things where people come up to you, and you have to be very quick with the readings.
Is there a really different feel about different kind of animals? Like is there a really different sort of vibration that you feel from a monkey versus a cat, or versus a fly, or versus a horse?
No, I haven't noticed a difference. Either you're going to get it or you're not. Either you're going to be right on or you're not. But I don't know how it happens exactly. I just seem to pick up the information.
You would kind of think that there would be like a vibrational difference, but maybe we're all pretty much alike, actually. You know,
when we were at Point Reyes at Penelope Smith's house, we were communicating with chickens. Who would think? Like, we'd go out to a chicken coop and hold a chicken and talk to it, or llamas. And I've never communicated with chickens and llamas since, you know. I don't know anyone who has them. And also being in person, and maybe I should say this because we're talking mostly about phone and Zoom. But before the pandemic, I was doing an awful lot of in-person. And when I was trained, it was all in person. Even the psychic mediumship was in person because it was a week before the lockdown. Now all the training's on Zoom. But I've gone to many people's homes and talked to their animals in person, and different sanctuaries and different things.
So
It's not easier or harder is what I'm saying, to do it on the phone or in person. Sometimes it's easier because there's to do it on the phone because you don't have a lot of distractions when you're at someone's home. It can be like if there are too many people around, or it might be a little harder to connect because there's distractions. But when you're on the phone or on Zoom, it's pretty focused. I guess that's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, I remember when we did this session, you wanted me to be next to Neville. You wanted me to be close to him so that you could kind of, I guess, maybe sort of pick up both of us at the same time. You were talking to me on the phone, but you asked me to be close to him, and I guess that helped you to tune into both of us in a way.
Well, I consider it like family therapy. So sometimes would have you, I don't know that we did this, I will have you also talk to your pet. Because if your pet's saying to me, I think that I'm always getting in trouble and mommy's always mad at me, I might have you reassure the dog or cat, no, that's not the case. I like to have everyone grouped together if everyone can be quiet, because it's like, do this, he's saying this, I'm going back and forth between the two of you. Your cat's saying this, what do you think about it? Oh, tell them this. So it's a family affair.
That's an interesting analogy, family therapy. That makes a lot of sense, though.
But when I go to someone's home, I do ask for time alone with the pet too, because I don't want the pet to be too distracted by the owner. So I do need to sit with them alone too. So
your most recent achievement is becoming a law of attraction mindset coach.
Yes. Very new certification.
And can you tell us a little bit about that? What that is and
yes.
what you do?
Yes. Years ago, I took like an intro to law of attraction at the ARE. And I remember they said, oh my God, you manifested so quickly. I think Maureen
St. Germain.
Yeah, she was running it, I think. And she said, can we write an article about you because you're manifesting so quickly? So I love this whole manifesting phase that's out now. Like you hear all the teenagers, I manifested this. It's all about vibrations. I've been studying law of attraction for many, many years. I used to work at the Learning Annex in the Seminar Center. I even taught animal communication there too. Intro, beginner animal communication. Do you remember those places?
Those places, yes.
Yeah. And I started out volunteering, and then my best friend and I used to actually work there and sign people in so we could sit and listen to everyone from Deepak Chopra to Wayne Dyer we wanted to be in every seminar every day. And we worked together as prosperity partners, and my whole world changed. That's how I ended up on the radio all across the world. The UK would call me often, and I'd be on the radio. Because it's your vibration. So when you lighten your vibration, like the energy is different around you, and it's like you're a magnet. So I always wanted to coach people, and I always wanted to learn it, but it takes a lot of discipline, and many years I have not been practicing it properly because it's so easy to go back to your old ways. And I said, I want to do it on a day-to-day basis, and I want to get certified, and I want to be a coach and a facilitator. So I'm just at the beginning stages of it. I have gotten my certification. I studied with Michael Lozier, who is someone that I knew 20 years ago when I used to go to Abraham Hicks, is my main mentor. That's a law of attraction person. And Michael Lozier made his own law of attraction program based on Abraham Hicks. And I always wanted to be certified with him. So I got certified maybe the end of last year. And I still have a couple of homework things to clear up before I'm fully on board with him, maybe bringing me along with him.
Oh.
There's a couple of things I have to do. Yes, I'm certified. I've done all the training, but you have certain things you have to complete and then tell them you completed. And I'm also an actress and a writer. So I'm auditioning for movies. I'm in writing contests. I'm doing the animal communication, psychic intuition, and now I have to incorporate the mindset coach.
You're a busy lady.
I love it though.
That's great. So
Yes, yeah.
when you do coach someone, when you work with them as a mindset coach, give us a little idea of how that would go, what that
Okay.
would be like for somebody having that service with you.
Yes, because I used to do it before I was certified. You know, years ago when I was so into it and taking classes and working with my best friend, we would work together on it. I had clients, but I wasn't certified. And I always felt kind of like I shouldn't be doing this unless I'm certified. So basically teaching people how to change their energy field around them. And it can be as simple as, I now do have a really good friend who we work together on a day-to-day basis. And I'm seeing such a huge difference. And we just send each other emails, writing things as though they've happened and they haven't really happened. Or we talk about things as though they've happened. So I want to be a leading actress on TV shows that are shot in New York City. I'd love to be in Only Murders in the Building. So I'll talk to her about my being in. It was so much fun on the set today of Only Murders in the Building. Do you hear me? Casting director. Things like that. We would send each other emails. Oh, this was great. That was great. And then we also pay attention to what is real, like appreciation, gratitude, miracles that have really happened. So I might put in my email, I can't believe I got to do this wonderful interview. You know, if that's a real thing that happened, and I'll appreciate that. Or I got to see a Broadway show today for $5, or this happened, that happened, and I send it to my friend. But I'm also sending a different email with made up stuff. And what happens is, the more you appreciate and you find things to appreciate, your energy changes around you. And then the things on the made up email jump over and come true, because she was reading mine the other day, my miracle email, and she was reading it and she goes, oh, wait a minute. I thought I was reading your made up one, we call the prosperity email. These are real things. These things happened since yesterday. So much is happening so quickly. I'm just booking an awful lot of stuff, fun stuff right now that was not happening before.
Is that usually how it's done? Kind of like a buddy system, sort of sharing with somebody that.
Well, you know, you don't have to. I've done it by myself too, but it's really fun if you have a friend. And if I'm coaching somebody, I would do it with them. I'd be their buddy. But there's a lot more to it. It's sort of looking at things, changing your vibration slowly, what to focus on, how to shift things. It's really fun, but it takes discipline. It's so easy to complain, and there's nothing wrong with complaining, because listen, we all have to sometimes. We're not saints, but how long do you want to stay in that moment? Okay, complain 10 minutes, and now what are 5 things great that just happened today? Because you're going to start to shift. And when you're starting to shift, you know, I started getting all these movie auditions. I wasn't getting them before. So it's sort of like, I don't know why, but you're a magnet for these things. And you know what the tricky thing is, Lynn, when tragedies happen and bad things happen, not to blame yourself. That's the tricky thing. I would say to Michael, but how do I explain to people that they're not, if we're saying that we attract the good, are we attracting the bad and the sad? He said, you just say to the person, life is very complicated and we don't understand everything, but you are not to blame, because that's where it can get tricky, you know?
Yeah.
My
Yes.
prosperity partner just recently did have something bad happen. And so she's just recovering from it. And we're just regrouping back together, because I wanted her to take a break from having to listen to my good stuff, or for her to try to come up with good stuff. So she took a couple days, and now she's back and she's shifting, but she's clearly stating, we do like a let go and let God. We do a miracles appreciation and we do a prosperity. So let go and let God is things that you want to not control and they're bothering you and you're worried. Miracles appreciation are things, what are the good things that are happening? And prosperity is made up stuff, but you say it as though it happened. And then that's going to start shifting and you're going to find those things jumping over to miracles appreciation. But we always say this or something better. If it be thy will, we leave it to the universe.
That's important. This or something better.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're not totally telling God, you're not giving orders to
Yeah.
God. You're-
Yeah. And we
Yeah.
say, thank you, God, for unseen gifts on their way to me.
That's good to remember. Unseen
Yes.
gifts to me.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Well, that's exciting too. I think we'll be having you back to talk more about that when you're fully in the thick of it and you finish all
Yes.
your it's kind of like you've done all but your dissertation, ABD. It's the kind of
Yes. I have 2 presentations I have to do, and then I can offer a free class to the ARE.
great. That would be wonderful. So, speaking of the ARE, let's talk about how people can reach you. If they want to talk to you about, if they want to have an animal communication session, or they want a session of mediumship, or they're interested in having a prosperity partner, how should people reach you?
Well, I'm in the portal at the ARE.
Well,
And
we should let's give them the website.
So because Lynn is presenting me, all of the contacts really should go through the portal so that ARE can get some of the money that I'm being paid.
So the website of ARE of New York is www.edgarcaseynyc.org. But I'm going to spell that because a lot of people don't know how to spell Casey. So it's www.edgarceynyc.org. I'm going to do that one more time. www.edgarceynyc.org. And then when you get to the website, there's a tab at the top and you click on portal. And if you scroll down there, you'll see Cynthia, and there's all kinds of information about Cynthia. But do you also want to give some contact information where people can reach you more directly, Cynthia, if they just want to talk to you, or that's all right.
Sure. I mean, yes, they can reach me. And I'll give my website, I'll give my phone number and my email just to chat, but then I'll pass them over to you to book it. So it's Cynthia Fellows, my name's at the bottom of the screen, .com is my website. And then my email address is cynthiafellows@gmail.com. And my phone number is 917-748-2927.
Great. And if people want to reach me, you can reach me through the ARE of New York webmail, which is info, I-N-F-O, at edgarcaseynyc.org, which is EDGARCAYCENYC.org. So Cynthia, this has been fun. It's very exciting. You have a lot to share, and your enthusiasm is infectious. And I am grateful.
Oh, I was just saying thank you so much for having me, Lynn and Hercules. Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, Hercules, and thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you both for a wonderful show. I greatly enjoyed it. Have a wonderful evening. This will be up on YouTube tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hercules.
Good night.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.